Jiva Brahma, that is what Shravana. Thereafterward, such whatever the Aikya, the knowledge of the identity that has been ascertained based on the inquiry into the Shruti, it is exactly so. It can't be otherwise. So, in this way, that means finding out or understanding the tenability of that, means it is given to reasoning that it is so only, that is what that is what is called as the mananam. So, means the vichara, the inquiry is twofold. First, Shravana in terms of inquiring and ascertaining the exact import of the Shastra. Thereafterward, finding the suitability or that possibility that it is so in terms of, that also based on the reasoning, etc. So that is what the manana is, what is called, we call as reflection. Now, here we have to know one thing. In ascertaining the meaning or exact import of the Vedanta, there is no freedom for anyone. It is not left to our choice or liking or projection. See, so one may think that it may be correct this way, therefore I cannot project that meaning on the Shruti. So we have to ascertain what exactly is meant by the Shruti, because Vedanta is a pramana. Vedanto nama Upanishad pramanam, pramajanakam pramanam. So it is a means of knowledge which is capable of giving the knowledge of ourselves. When it is a pramana, it has to be operated in the manner it has to be done. So in operating the pramana, we don't have any option, because the knowledge that is gained through the pramana is dependent on the Vastu Tantratva. Purusha Tantra, the will of the individual, doesn't play any role in ascertaining the knowledge of a thing. In doing something, the will of the person can play a role. He may do, he may not do, he may do otherwise, left to his will. But in knowing a thing, if at all you ought to know a thing, you should know the thing as the thing is. There is no question of any option in knowing this way or that way. So being a pramana, Vedanta being a pramana, it has to be operated as it has to be, and for that the Shraddha and the Chitta Shuddhi play a very important role. Because the mind that discovers the truth must be a ready mind, a mature mind. So if the Shraddha is not there, because Shraddha is to be there. If Shraddha is, why Shraddha is necessary? Because what is declared by the Shruti is quite contrary to our experience, is it not? Shruti says Jiva and Brahma are one and the same. The Jagat is Mithya. What is our experience as it obtains today? Of course, we may not know Brahma or Ishvara, but we know ourselves very well, is it not? So what we are, we know very well. So what a miserable creature I am, I know well. And how can I be same as Ishvara? How is it possible? So that is that. Again, how can the perceptible world be Mithya? Because it is quite contrary to my experience. So such doubts are there. So therefore, that means to begin with, Shraddha is necessary. Without Shraddha, nothing can, that means, take place to them. They say, no, in business, they say, to start a business, you should have first some capital, is it not? The minimum capital is necessary to start a business. I was given a word. It is called as seed money. They say, seed money, they say. So you should have a seed money first to start a business. Afterwards, it depends how you fare in the business, how you conduct it, that's fine. But like that, in Vedanta, not Adhyatma. And that means in the pursuit of gaining the higher goal of life, the seed money is Shraddha. It has to start from the Shraddha. If Shraddha is not there, nothing can proceed further. But Shraddha itself is not everything. There are people who have got all total Shraddha. But mastery over the senses and further pursuits are not there. That is not going to help. That is Shraddha case, Sanyati Indriyaha. The one should have the mastery over the senses. Also Chitta Shuddhi, Antakarana Shuddhi is indispensable. Shraddha no doubt is essential, but it should be coupled with the Antakarana Shuddhi. Antakarana Shuddhi means Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadamadi, Shakta Samadhi, Dharmika, Krishna Sampatti comes. Amanitva, Adamritva, all these values come. So that mind must be a ready mind. And such a mind has to expose to the inquiry in terms of Shravana through a right master. So, Shrotriyaha Brahmanistha. And how long he should expose to Shravana? Paunah Punnena Shravanam Kurya. Punah Punaha. Punah Punaha Paunah Punnena Shravanam Kurya. So, and to do Shravana, what is to be done? You know, actually as per the Shastra, when Shravana is to be done, don't take literally, okay? Sannyasya Shravanam Kuryat. Sannyasya Shravanam Kuryat. First take sannyasa. Not just change the color of the cloth. Sannyasa must be here. That mental preoccupation in 1,000 things has to be withdrawn so that the mind is available to take to this pursuit. Sannyasya. Otherwise, if the mind is already preoccupied in so many things, how it is able to take to this inquiry as such? Sannyasya Shravanam Kuryat. And that Shravana should be what? Paunah Punyena. Again and again, repeated Shravana means repeated inquiry has to be conducted until the knowledge is very clear. Suppose, in spite of repeated inquiry, the knowledge doesn't take place. What is to be done? No? Condemn and criticize. I am a useless fellow. Is it not? Earlier also he was condemning. Now he came to Vedanta with some hope, thinking that some solace will come. There also what the Shastra says, what the teacher says, you are verily Paramananda, Sachit, Parananda, Sarupa, etc. But he knows what I am. So therefore what I am useless here also. No. So not that way. It only shows that certain adjustments in the personality are, that means these are required. So therefore take to the right measures to rectify the mind. This is what the job of Karma Kanda and Upasana Kanda. Karma and Upasana in the Vedas, they help us to get rid of these defects of the mind. The defects of the mind are threefold. Mala, Vikshepa and Avarana. Mala in terms of Pratibandhakas, obstructions of the past lives as such. You don't know what all things you have done in the past lives. That means the bad results of action, they do come today. So, and they pose an obstruction in our pursuit of gaining the knowledge. Even though I wish to gain this knowledge, even though I take the measures to gain this knowledge, there come many obstructions. So some mala must be there. That means when you find an effect, there must be a cause. So you have to infer that there must be a cause either from this life or past life. Otherwise these obstructions, pratibandhakas, cannot come. So therefore mala is there, that is there. So therefore karma helps us. Karma taken to with the right attitude, karma yoga. Yes, I might have taken to get rid of these obstructions. Still, my mind may be a wavering mind. It is not a steady mind at all. So it is not able to take to a particular chosen preoccupation. So therefore, Chitta Naishchalya may not be there. To gain that Chitta Naishchalya, take to Upasanas. So Upasanas are meant for Chitta Naishchalya. So get rid of the mala, that means the dirt as it were of the pratibandhakas, the karmas help us. So mala vikshepa. Now, with this, I have got a mind which is, that means Shuddha Antakarana is that pratibandhakas to a great extent are obstructions. Pratibandhakas is obstruction. Obstruction is the pursuit. They to a great extent they are removed. Mind is to a great extent steady. Yet I don't know what my real nature is. Avarana. Avarana, the veiling of my real nature, the ignorance of myself is there. So how it can be removed? For that, Shravana has to be taken to. One has to take the inquiry to destroy the ignorance of oneself. Shravana has to be taken to. So that I gain the knowledge of oneself. Without, there is no option as to speculate about what can Atma be, etc. Atma is what it is. The only thing is that you get rid of the ignorance and know what it is. And after getting rid of ignorance, there is nothing that you have to do as such. Of course, some other problem may be there, which will be in the next stanza. But you see, so suppose you want to know the microphone, you will have to operate your eyes, okay? Now the eyes, in spite of seeing a microphone, and the microphone is within the field of the sight of your eyes, and yet you are not able to see the microphone, what will you do? What does it mean? There must be some defect with the eyes. Better check the eyes. Maybe some glasses are required. Yes, we have checked the eyes, the glasses, that means glasses, in spite of the glasses, one is not able to see, or glasses are not able to help. Perhaps there may be cataract. There may be cataract. So get it removed, operated. Cataract was there, that also is removed. Still the eyes are not able to see. Then what? Transplant? Eye transplant? So no, maybe the nerves are weak. The nerve, that means the debility of the nerves may be there. Then what you do? Take some vitamins or decoctions, etc. so that the nerves eye nerves are strengthened. But finally how you can see? Eyes only. For a change, you can't use the ears to see. No, all the time, how can you just give so much of work to the eyes as such? For a change, see with the ears and hear with the eyes. Is it possible? No. You have to operate the appropriate pramana with adequate measure. So likewise, if in spite of Shravana, I am not able to gain the knowledge, there must be some defect in the instrument that I apply. That is what the mind is. So that means that the defect can be mala, vikshepa, that has to be removed by chitta, that is karma and upasana, then exposed to inquiry or Shravana, get rid of the ajnana. So once the ajnana is removed, ignorance of myself is removed, my nature reveals by itself. Do you know why it is? It is self-luminous. It is a very knowledge principle. What denies me today my real nature is the ignorance of myself. Otherwise, how far my real nature is from me? How far is it from me? It is verily me. If it is verily me, however, how is that I am not able to know it? Means ignorance is denying me, destroyed by the knowledge. So afterward, that is what one can gain one's own real nature. But here, some doubts, etc. may be possible. So vagueness may be there. All these doubts and vagueness have to be removed, for which manana has to be taken to. Manana also takes care of that there other schools of thought, because there are other people who think about Atma like this, etc., which may be far from truth. So those have to be resolved. So because maybe today I don't think that way, that is somebody else's opinion, but tomorrow I may start thinking in those terms, and that doubt may be my doubt, and my knowledge will be in doldrums after that. So therefore, such doubts and possible notions also have to be clear. That is why in the Tarkapada, so Shankaracharya Bhashyakara says first, the objection is raised. Look, you have established what is the Brahma, what is the Atma. That's the end of it. Because what is your aim? To know what the Atma is, so that you can know what the Atma, what the Brahma is, so that you can get freed from the bondage. You have very clearly established based on the Shastra that this is what the nature of Atma, Brahma is. It is free from all the bondage. It is Nitya Mukta. That's fine. Why do you proceed further in terms of arguing and dismissing the other schools of thought, as if you have to settle an account with them? Why do you do that? Yes, we have established. But there are people who think like this about Atma. And the problem is, these people are held in high esteem by some people. In some people's opinion, these are the people who are held in high esteem. And therefore what will happen? They will think that what they say is correct. So therefore, there being a mistake in their way of thinking, and it being far from truth, we are compelled to point out the fallacies in the way of their thinking. Not that we have any grudge against them as such. We have nothing to do with them. We have no account to settle with them as such. It is only to remove such notions I have to, that means, even not only me, who? The Sutrakara. Sutrakara who? The Vyasa himself has composed the sutras, which I am compelled to comment upon. So therefore it is not to do, that means not to criticize anyone. It is only to catch the knowledge free from vagueness and the doubt. So that this manana is necessary, and based on the reasoning, this is exactly what the truth is being established. So therefore, Shravana to gain the knowledge, manana to find out the tenability or the possibility of the same based on the reasoning, and to get rid of all the doubts. Proper learning takes care of both Shravana and manana. Means in a broad way, as a general thing, that is general doubts, etc. There may be few personal doubts, etc., that one has to track with the help of the, that means the teacher or oneself, or with the help of the co-seekers, etc. That is what can be done. So, but that knowledge should be free from doubts and vagueness. Now, in spite of this, there is still further another problem. Yes, I have discovered what my real nature is. I have no doubts whatsoever about it. It is clear, that is, it is totally clear to me as far as my knowledge is, the knowledge of my real nature is concerned. Yet, hitherto I was taking the body, etc., as the I. Is it not? Hitherto, we had identified ourselves with the body. Since when did we identify with the body? From the birth of this. Since when did we identify with the body? Since when we are on this pilgrimage of this samsara? When did our pilgrimage of samsara start? Whose pilgrimage you are talking about? My, who is that me? Atma. Atma, no problem. Jiva. Jiva, how did he become Jiva? Malina Sattva Pradhana Prakriti. Avidya. When did Avidya start? Anadi. Jiva is Anadi. Pilgrimage is Anadi. So therefore, from Anadi time is from beginningless time, we are identifying with the body, gross body, subtle body. Now because of our efforts, prayatna, we have discovered what our real nature is, and we know for certain that these bodies cannot be me. Yet habitually we tend to continue to take the body as I. This is that means that habitual error of identifying with the body has to be checked. So that deha tadatmya or viparita bhavana, so that means I am the body, etc., has to be removed. So this can continue in spite of gaining the clear knowledge. Just by habit, they say habits die hard. That's true. Because habits are picked up in time. They have to go in time. They can't go just overnight as such, however much we may put forth the effort. So therefore, here a remedy is being prescribed as a nididhyasana, what is called as contemplation. So which helps us to get rid from this habitual error of identifying with the body. So therefore now Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana, to inquire and ascertain the knowledge of oneself and gain it. Manana, to justify the tenability of that, that we ascertain the possibility of that and to gain that knowledge. Then Nididhyasana, to get rid of the habitual error. Otherwise, in spite of knowing what I am, I get carried away by this habitual identification, and so long as the identification of the body is there, I still suffer the pangs of sorrow of the, that means the world. So therefore, to get rid of that means that one can enjoy the fruit of this knowledge, that identification of the body also should go. So for that, Nididhyasana is recommended. So what is that Nididhyasana? It is ताभ्याम निर्विचिकित्सेर्थे चेतसा स्थापितस्य यत् एकतानत्वमेतद्धि निदिध्यासनमुच्यते। ताभ्याम निर्विचिकित्से अर्थे स्थापितस्य चेतसः यत् एकतानत्वम् एतद्धि निदिध्यासनम उच्यते. This is what is called a nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam, contemplation. Of course, Swamiji must have already told you. See, there are two, there is nididhyasana and dhyana. Dhyana, one word is there, nididhyasana is there. But there can be a difference in that sense. Whether dhyana or nididhyasana, it is giving a particular chosen preoccupation to the mind to the total exclusion of all other dissimilar thoughts, which is told here as ekatanatvam. We will see what is ekatanatvam. So that is what is that, what we call popularly we call as meditation. But in Sanskrit there are two words, dhyana and nididhyasana. Dhyana, meditation, means there is a dhyata. When you meditate, then dheya, meditated, and dhyana, meditated. And what is nididhyasana? Nididhyasana also same thing. The one who takes nididhyasana and some dheya is there and the nididhyasana is there. So dhyata, dhyana, dheya. And what is the difference between them? See, in dhyana, the dheya can be savikalpa or nirvikalpa. In other words, it can be saguna brahma or nirguna brahma. Dhyana can have any dheya. It can be Saguna Brahma or Nirguna Brahma. For dhyana, any object or anything is required as that means the object of meditation. For both, dhyana word is used. But when the dheya is Nirvikalpa Brahma, it is called as Nididhyasanam or Nididhyasaha. So, in Nididhyasana, Saguna Brahma cannot be the dheya. But in dhyana, it can be or Nirvikalpa Brahma. Therefore, the 6th chapter of Gita is termed as Dhyana Yoga. There the dhyana is actually Nirvikalpa Brahma, actually Nididhyasana, but dhyana word is used. We find in general, the dhyana word is used for both with the meditation on Nirguna and Saguna Brahma. Whereas the Nididhyasana word is exclusively used for meditation on the Nirguna Brahma. So therefore, now as far as the Sanskrit words are concerned, there is no confusion because Nididhyasana is very clear where that means contemplation or meditation on oneself is there. But in English, the word meditation and contemplation is used in what way? Either way. Nowadays. In olden days, I think they may not have had the contemplation or something like meditating on the nature of oneself as such. But in the modern English translation, it is loosely used meditation and contemplation for either way as such. This is where Swami said, by agreement, let us reserve the word contemplation for Nididhyasana. It may not be so in the English language. And the dhyana for the meditation on the Saguna Brahma. It is just by sheer agreement so we can use these words effectively and don't get mixed up when we use the word. So the word dhyanam is used for the meditation in general. There the dheya is Saguna Brahma with Savikalpa, whereas the Nididhyasana, the word contemplation can be reserved for the contemplation on the Nirguna Brahma, Atma or Brahma, one's own real nature. This as far as the English word, using of the English words are concerned for our convenience. Okay. But this may not be the meaning elsewhere. They may use in either way meditation and the word contemplation. Okay. Now, what is this contemplation? Nididhyasanam. Tabhyam nirvichikitse arthe. In that artha means Vishaya. What type of Vishaya? Tabhyam nirvichikitse. That is, that artha which is nirvichikitsa. Nirvichikitsa means nirgata vichikitsa samshayaha yasmat asau nirvichikitsaha tasmin arthe. The artha, the Vishaya. What is that Vishaya? Jiva Brahma. Jiva Brahma Aikya. In Shravana, Shrutyartha, what is ascertained? Jiva Brahma Aikya. How did you do that? By those two. What are those two? Shravana and thereafterwards Manana. Shravana to know it and Manana to thrash it from all the vagueness and to justify the exact meaning of that. So to find out the tenability of that. So therefore by this Tabhyam means by Shravana and Manana. Shravana Mananabhyam. So therefore Tabhyam Shravana Mananabhyam Nirvichikitse Arthe. In the Artha means Vishaya, means the subject matter which is the Jiva Brahma Aikya in that, which is freed from all the doubts. Vichikitsa, doubts. Nirgataha, not Nirgataha. Nirgata Vichikitsa means Samshaya. The one from whom the Samshaya, the doubt is gone. So that is what is called Nirvichikitsa. In that Nirvichikitse Arthe. Thapitasya Chetasaha Ekatanatvam. Thapitasya Chetaha, of the mind, Chetasaha, of the mind, which is Thapita. Thapita means Sthirikritasya. Sthirikritasya means the mind which is made to abide, made to get absorbed. Not just abide, the mind which is made to get absorbed. Thapitasya. Thapitasya Sthirikritasya. Sthirikrita means made firm. Firm means which is made to get absorbed in that. Thapitasya Chetasaha. Chetasaha, of the mind. So whatever that state, what type of state it is? Ekatanatvam. Ekatanatvam means so ekakara vritti pravahatvam. only one and one preoccupation of that particular thought is there. What thought is there? The artha. What type of artha? Nirvichikitsa artha. The artha. And what is that artha? That vritti. Actually it is a vritti. It is a vritti which appreciates the Jiva Brahma Aikya, which is free from all the doubts and vagueness. Means, all it means is, to the mind, only preoccupation of one vritti, which is called as Akhandakara vritti. It is called as Akhandakara. I am sure in Upadesharam you have seen this Akhandakara vritti. The Akhandakara vritti which appreciates the identity of Jiva and Brahma, so that alone is given as the preoccupation. Why is it called Akhandakara vritti? Because knowledge of anything is gained through vrittis, is it not? Knowledge of any object is gained through vritti, and that vritti taking the form of the object. Knowledge of any Vishaya is gained through the Vishayakara vritti. You know the microphone through the microphone akara vritti. You know a flower through flower akara vritti. You know a tree through tree akara vritti. So therefore, knowledge of any object is gained through a vritti, a thought of the akara, the form of that particular object. Now, if we have to gain the knowledge of Atma, what type of vritti it has to be? Akara means form. It should necessarily be Atma Akara vritti. What is the Akara, the form of Atma? What is the form of Atma? Blue, green, red. What form? It is formless. It is formless. So, formless means, what do you mean by formless? There is no form, is it not? Then how come the formless we have a akara vritti? A form means, look here, what do you mean by a form? Form is something which is circumscribed in space, is it not? Some limitations are there, then only it can be a form. It is circumscribed in space with a particular way, in a particular way, that is a form as such. Now, suppose that whatever limitations you go on stretching, what will happen? You know, physics, etc., the waves are taken into account, and they have got the wavelength, the distance between the top of the top of two waves, that is what is called as a wavelength. Suppose you want to extend that wavelength, what has to do? The wave has to become more and more flat. It should be straightened. Suppose you have to stretch that wavelength to infinity. You know what has to become? That wave has to become a straight line. It has to be a straight line. So also, here, akhanda akara, that means akara, where there is no form means, it is formless means what? It is free from all the limitations, that is what is called as akhanda. Akhanda. There is no khanda, there is no breadth, there is no limitation. By QLC we have to say akhanda akara, because akara we have to make use, because without vritti, there can't be knowledge. If without vritti knowledge were to take place, what would have happened? To gain any knowledge, we need the corresponding vrittis. Suppose if without vrittis, and how do you get the vrittis? Shabda sparshadayo vedyaha, don't forget it. Through the perception, means sense organs. Sense organs means antakarana vritti travels through the sense organs to the Vishayas and takes the Vishayakara vritti. Is it not? So that is what is necessary. So now, these vrittis have got a certain form. Now in the case of Atma, being what it is, there cannot be any form as such. It is called as the formless akhanda, means there the Vishayakara vritti is circumscribed or limited by the particular form of the object. Here there is nothing. And if these vrittis were not there, what would have happened is, we will gain the knowledge of everything yugapat simultaneously. Now what happens is, these senses and the vrittis serve as the channels of giving the knowledge of the object around. If the channels are not operated, you are not going to get the knowledge of the object. If that were not the case, without vrittis means without the help of even the senses, if we were to gain the knowledge simultaneously, Okay, so therefore, so without the vritti, no knowledge is possible. At the same time, Atma doesn't have a form. That is what is called as Akhandakara vritti. Therefore, Akhandakara vritti means just a name, the vritti which appreciates the identity, the Aikya, the oneness of Jiva and Brahma. So that is what is here said as the Chetasaha Sthapisat Arhayas. Nirvichikitse Arthe. That Nirvichikitsa Artha, the appreciation of that itself is the Akhandakara vritti. So therefore, so Nirvichikitse Arthe Sthapitasya Chetasaha of the mind Yat Ekatanatvam. Ekatanatvam means Ekakara vritti pravahatvam. Ekakara vritti means that vritti alone continues to be there, to the exclusion of all other dissimilar thoughts, dissimilar vrittis. That ekatanatam, continuous flow of that particular vritti which appreciates the knowledge of oneself, identity between Jiva and Ishvara, or Jiva and Brahma. So therefore, ekatanatvam, that is what is called etadhi nididhyasanam uchyate. That is what is called as the nididhyasana. Means the mind repeatedly taking to the appreciation of my real nature. And how that is done, which has been already ascertained in the Shravana, trashed in the Manana, that clarity of vision is there, no doubts, no vagueness. Then giving the mind that particular preoccupation, that is what is called, to the exclusion of other thoughts, is called as Nididhyasanam. You should know this Nididhyasana, but that word also should be known properly to understand what exactly Nididhyasana. Our concept of Nididhyasana is what? Or meditation is what? Every day morning, half an hour, Nididhyasana. Thereafterwards, coupled with attending 2 classes of Vedanta, because it is compulsory, so you can't escape them. Thereafterwards, chit-chatting in the room, round table conference on the veranda of dining hall, of course without the round table. Thereafterwards what? Shop talk while going to the walking and on the mountains, etc. So, and so on and so forth. That is our concept of Nididhyasana. But if we just analyze the word Nididhyasana, it will throw a much light on this. See, this word comes from Dhyai Dhyayati, first conjugation. Dhyai Dhyayati, to meditate or to contemplate. Dhyai Dhyayati. From this Dhyai Dhyayati, a desiderative form has been, that means arrived at. Sannanta, sun form, desiderative. Didhyasati. Didhyasati means Dhyatum Ichchati Didhyasati. Desiderative means desire to do something. That's right. Didhyasati. Dhyatum Ichchati Didhyasati means desires to meditate, desires to contemplate. Now this Dhyai, Didhyasati, has been added with a prefix of ni. So, ni Didhyasati, Nididhyasati. From that, an abstract noun has been formed. As Nididhyasaha, that means the Ghan Pratyaya, a comes there, or Lut Pratyaya, ana comes there, Nididhyasanam. Both are the same, abstract noun. Either way, only Pratyayas differ. So, that is Nididhyasaha and Nididhyasanam. That, what does that ni mean? Ni means repeated, continuous, full and complete. So, Nididhyasana doesn't mean just contemplation. It doesn't mean just contemplation. It means, ni means profound, repeated, constant contemplation. In the very etymology of the word Nididhyasana, in the very formation of the word Nididhyasana, there is a, that means a instruction, or that means a guidance is there, that contemplation is not with fits and bouts now and then. It has to be repeated, continuous, constant, that it should be. So that is what is the Nididhyasana. Why so? What is wrong? Half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening, and in between we can do whatever you want, is it not? Okay. When we talk like this, except that of Vedanta, okay? See, when anything we talk, do we think or not before talking? Is there anyone who talks without thinking? There may be few. And which variety you know that? So, they are different variety, mad fellows, okay, that's all. Otherwise, to talk, we have to think. When you think, what are you thinking? Savikalpa or Nirvikalpa? I am not talking of Vedanta. Other than Vedanta, when we talk, do we talk of Savikalpa or Nirvikalpa? It has to be Savikalpa, Vikalpas of Nama, Rupa, Bheda, blessed, whatever it may be, it has to be of that variety only. So, in Nididhyasana, what are you appreciating? Nirvikalpa, Brahma. The mind that is flooded with Savikalpa, will it be able to take to Nirvikalpa even if it knows all of a sudden? Is it possible for that mind to take to that? All instructions, we have to observe Mauna, etc. Do you know what for? No instructional Shastra is just like that. You should know why about that. So, and our complaint is that I am not able to meditate or contemplate. Volitionally or habitually, we are indulging in such a thing that the mind is always full with vikalpas. House full, you know. No room for what? Nirvikalpa, appreciation Nirvikalpa. Because the mind tends to all this. We may know it or may not know it. That's why I said, either habitually or volitionally, we do it. It is impossible for the mind to take to such repeated contemplation. That's what. And other thing, what is the nature of the mind? Chanchalam, Pramati, Balavat, Dridam. Arjuna has used the most appropriate word. Chanchalam, is fickle, wavering. Pramati, with what? It's turbulent. It can put the senses and the body out of gear just like that. Balavat, very strong. Dridam, very difficult to attack and difficult to handle. The mind itself is such a thing, and we call it as what type of mind? Monkey mind. You know? So mind means monkey. It's like a monkey mind. Now, if that is not properly tamed, it means taming and training. If it is not properly tamed and trained, how that mind can take to Nididhyasana? Therefore that me means that constant, repeated contemplation means that alone is the preoccupation for the person. That doesn't mean that 24 hours the fellow is sitting with the clothes right like a rock. No, it did not do. And it's not possible also. It is not possible. How can one sit like that? It's not. But in and through whatever he does with the open eyes, whatever that does, of course, that means the vision is only about the Jiva Brahma Aika. For that, a seclusion is necessary, not just ashram. In the ashram itself, there can be any amount of disturbance. Not disturbance from outside. Don't blame others. Not disturbance from outside. From ourselves only. From our way of, that means how we live, etc. There can be any amount of vikshepa, and that vikshepa will certainly deny the attempt to take to the Nirvikalpa appreciation, that is what is called as the Nididhyasana. That's why the Lord Krishna also says, yes, Arjuna, you are rightly said. Mind is Chanchala, Aspira, Dhrida, Balavattaram, all that is true. But Abhyasena tu Kaunteya, Vairagyena cha Grihati. It can be trained by Abhyasa, repeated practice, and Vairagya. So that much firm renunciation must be there. If renunciation first, Vairagya is not there, what happens? Mind is bound to run after the sense object. Running after the sense object means it is bound to be vikshipta. Vikalpas are there. It is not yet able to take to the contemplation. So all these must be there. Thereafterwards, one may have knowledge, one may have vairagya, but yet if he doesn't take to abhyasa, again it is not possible. So therefore, the me, that means constant, profound, repeated contemplation, that nididhyasanam uchyate. So now we should know one thing here. Nididhyasana is, of course, these all preparations must be there. But in spite of this preparation, the Nididhyasana is possible only when the Shravana and Manana is thorough. Don't think Nididhyasana means thinking, you sit there at one place and go on thinking about the Atma, etc. In Nididhyasana, thinking is not involved. There is no thinking involved. Thinking, etc. is not earlier. In inquiry, Shravana and Manana. In Shravana, that is the Artha, the Jiva Brahma Aikya has been very thoroughly appreciated. Manana, all is the doubts removed, and it is exactly so. It has been already verified. The suitability and the tenability has been already verified. So, in the Nididhyasana, mind just exposes itself to the truth that has been discovered earlier, and which is very clear, free from vagueness and doubt. So, Nididhyasana is not just repeating something, etc. Then it is the japa. It will amount to japa. In Nididhyasana, no thinking is involved. It has to grow based on the maturity of the mind and the ascertainment and the depth of the knowledge of oneself. So just expose oneself. So what we can call as redwelling. Redwelling on the discovery of our own real nature, which already we have accomplished where? With Shravana, with the help of the Manana. So in Nididhyasana, you just redwell on them. Of course, for which one may take help of few words here and there, or some statement here and there, with which the one has already discovered what one's own real nature. They may be taken as a prop to begin with, but afterwards, just redwelling on that discovery, that is what is called as the Nididhyasana. Thereby what we do is, so we get rid of the habitual error of identifying with the body. So therefore, that is to get rid of the identifying the body. It is not that I am not the body, I am not the mind, etc. Go on repeating. No. It is like this. That is the nature of the mind. If you try to avoid or forbid something, invariably what the mind will do? It will run after that. That's some story, something. It seems one king was suffering from some disease. And he ordered that, he asked all physicians to cure it, but one condition. If you fail to cure my disease, you will land in the prison. Nobody dares to, that means suppose the medicine doesn't work, unless the fellow will suffer in the prison. Nobody dares. So then finally one person came, and he made a big show. And then he said, and they gave big show of preparing such a decoction and this and that, etc. medicine, and told again, this is the medicine. It has to work. But there is one pathya for that. What is the pathya? Some restrictions are there. When you take this medicine, you should not think of three things. One thing, you should not think of the egg. Other thing, you should not think of the baldness. Third thing, you should not think of the monkey. These three things you should not think. The medicine is bound to work. What happens? Now he will remember what things I have not to. I am not supposed to think. The egg, the baldness, and monkey. Invariably these three will come there. So therefore, when you try to avoid all these things, in your attempt to avoid, what happens? Invariably those things come. That is another thing. Some people ask to note the spiritual diary and all your lapses and the faults, so that you can avoid. You know what happens? You go on writing and your mind is on these lapses and the faults, and invariably the person is bound to commit them again and again. Best thing is what? Just don't look at them. Give the positive preoccupation to the mind. They will just vanish in course of time. This is a very dangerous attempt. Writing and searching, etc. That doesn't, look, that doesn't mean that you what? Boost up your all these faults, etc. Not that, not lapses as you say. But knowing them to be not correct, take to the positive steps, so that in the wake of the positive steps, these negatives will just disappear. It will take time, but you be consistent and be honest about your efforts about taking the positive steps. It is not advisable at all. So therefore, so like this, so the positive appreciation of what my real nature is to be given, for which what is the one has to dwell repeatedly on the, for which Shravana Manana must be thorough. That is what is the Nididhyasana. So therefore Nididhyasana is not some part-time job, that is the preoccupation. Even otherwise, a person who has gained the knowledge, what all are his interests? Where can be his interests? What is it? It has to be in oneself, just dwell, because what is the nature of Atma? It is not just I am Atma, Satchidananda, Paramatma, Brahma. It is not just Ananda Swarupa. Having discovered Ananda Swarupa, how can the mind go elsewhere? If mind goes elsewhere, either habitual error or the discovery is not proper, or still the pull or the drag of Vishayas are still in the bosom. So therefore, it should be Nididhyasana, Nididhyasanam or Nididhyasaha. That Ni stands for, that means continuous, repeated, constant, profound, that means contemplation. It should be so. That means, in Nididhyasana, that is the Viparita Bhavana, that is the error of identifying oneself habitually is got rid of, so that I can enjoy the knowledge of myself. Okay. Now, for Nididhyasana, efforts are required. When Nididhyasana fructifies, mind gets totally absorbed in this. That is what is called as the Samadhi. Samadhi is a much misunderstood word. All kinds of emotional upsurges, attacks of hysteria, and then what? All these nervous breakdowns and these neurotic fits are called as the Samadhi and praised and extolled as Samadhi. It is not. Samadhi presupposes Nididhyasanam. In Nididhyasana, effort is involved. Samadhi is just the fructification of Nididhyasana. Nididhyasana taken to a sufficiently long period of time. So it just, that means creates the momentum and the mind gets totally absorbed in what? What was the preoccupation to the mind in the Nididhyasana? Nirvichikitse Arthe. Remember that. That Artha. And what is that Artha? Jiva Brahma Aikya. The knowledge of the identity of Jiva and Brahma. That was the preoccupation. So, and repeatedly by elimination of dissimilar thoughts, so that preoccupation was being given by attempts, by effort in Nididhyasana. When it becomes natural and the mind gets absorbed in that, so that is what is called as the Samadhi. So therefore, this Nididhyasana leads to Samadhi. So that is, what is that Samadhi? So that is description of the Samadhi is being given now from stanza 55 to 62. Means Samadhi and all relevant things about the Samadhi are being described from stanza 55 to 62. Samadhi and Tatphala Nirupanam. Samadhi and that means the result of Samadhi is being described in this stanza. Dhyatrudhyane parityajya kramadhyaika gocharam nivata deepavachittam samadhirabhidhiyate. Chittam, add yada, dhyatrudhyane Pramad parityajya nivata deepavat dhyaika gocharam, add bhavati tada samadhihi abhidhiyate. When the chitta, the mind happens to be like this, then it is said to be in samadhi. It is called as a samadhi. Means this particular state of the mind is called as the samadhi. So what is that chitta? What does the chitta do? When the chitta means chittam, then dhyatru dhyane parityajya, having given up. Dhyatru dhyane aham dhyata idam dhyanam. Dual. Dhyatru dhyane. I am the meditator, I am the contemplator. And this is what is contemplated upon. The duality is there. Given up, having given up. See, to begin with in nididhyasana, what is there? I am dhyata, I am the contemplator. This is what is dheya. Dheya, what is that? Jiva Brahma Aikya. And what I am doing now, I am taking to dhyana, contemplation. Triputis are there. Dhyata, dhyana, dheya. These three are there. Now from this what happens is dhyatra dhyane parityaj. Having given up these two. Dhyata, I am the contemplator. Dhyan, this is the dhyanam. This is what dhyanam contemplation I take to. Having given up. So, how given up? Kramat. Kramat parityaj. Kramat means, kramashah means in order in the sense, abhyasavashat. Abhyasavashat kramashah. By repeated practice, because abhyasa is necessary. Abhyasa means practice, okay? In local language, you know what is abhyasa? Study, you know, generally parents tell the children, do abhyasa, means what? Study, that's all. In local language it's called study, but actually abhyasa means repetition. So repetition. So abhyasa vacha, kramashaha abhyasa vacha. So therefore, in order means for dhyata, dhyana. So by repeated effort, it cannot just come like that. Efforts are necessary, repeated efforts are necessary. So therefore, so dhyatra dhyane kramat parityajya, having given up, then what happens? Then so that mind becomes now nivata deepavat chittam. The chitta, the mind, like nivata deepavat, like a lamp which is in a nivata, a place which is free from the wind, including the breeze. Even the breeze also is not there, leave alone the wind. So from like a lamp is not your electric lamp, etc. Oil lamps with flame, like better to take, deepa means like the flame of a lamp placed in a breezeless place. How steady and that means and vertical it is. So even suppose a slight whiff of breeze is there, you can find out what slight deviation is there. Again what it becomes? It comes to the original vertical posture. So like that, maybe that means even that is not there, which is steady and continuous. So nivata deepa chittam. So what happens to that? Dheyaika gocharam bhavati. Becomes dheyaika gocharam means dheyam ekam eva gocharaha yasya tat chittam. Chitta for which dheya alone. What is dheya? Brahma. Okay. Here what is dheya is? Brahma. Nirvikalpa Brahma. Akhanda Vastu. So dheyam means dheyam Brahma. Ekam eva gocharam. Gocharam means Vishayaha. The object. The object of contemplation is one Brahma. That becomes that dheya eka gocharam bhavati means no other thoughts are possible in that state of the mind. So that mind, so that is what is called as the samadhi. By the way, samadhi word is masculine in gender, okay? Because E is there, don't take it feminine. So it is masculine in gender. Pullinga, not strilinga. Samadhi. So otherwise, no, dhi also, dhi is what? Feminine. So therefore samadhi is not feminine, it is masculine. So samadhi abhidhiyate. That is what is said to be samadhi. This particular state, another word, this particular state of absorption of the mind, wherein the object of contemplation is Brahma. Jiva Brahma Aikam is Brahma. To the total exclusion of all other thoughts, that state of absorption is called as the samadhi. And it is, samadhi is not practiced. What is practiced is nididhyasanam. By constant practice of nididhyasana, one has to, that means, as it were, that means just to get absorbed in the samadhi. Efforts are required for nididhyasana. And samadhi is the paripaka dasha. That's what is Paripaka dasha means the state of fructification of the that means the nididhyasana. Of course, that doesn't mean no practice is necessary. Practice is of what is necessary. Nididhyasana, because dhyata, dhyana, dheya, all their practice comes. That is that. And even for few seconds in nididhyasana, if dhyata and dhyana, these are eliminated, that is nirvikalpa samadhi. Maybe a few seconds, that is nirvikalpa samadhi. The division of dhyata and dhyana should be being all the time being dhyayika. Dhyayika, that is very important. So that is what is the samadhi. And if dhyata is there and the person has got absorption, that is what is called as the savikalpa samadhi. So this is nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa, there is no vikalpas of dhyata and dhyana. And what is dheya? Then dheya is there. Dheya alone is to be there. Why? What is there is only Satchidananda. Brahma alone is there. So that alone is there. So that is nirvikalpa. When the slightest division of dhyata comes there, it is savikalpa. Of course, nididhyasana has this two savikalpa, the person has to come to nirvikalpa. Even attempts do continue up to the level of the savikalpa samadhi. But when that last space of vikalpa of dhyata drops, that is what is the nirvikalpa samadhi. So this is what is called as the samadhi, for which illustration is given like nivata deepavat, like a flame of a lamp in a place which is totally free from the breeze. This is what the samadhi is. Savana, manana, nididhyasana, in the right manner taken to, with repeated this nididhyasana has to lead to here all this, like what is that, abhyasa, vairagya, all these count. Abhyasa, vairagya, then abhyasa afterwards, abhyasa, nididhyasana afterwards, vairagya, then shravana, manana, nididhyasana, and abhyasa of nididhyasana leads to samadhi. This is what the samadhi is. Now, in samadhi, what is there is that dhyayika gochara of that, that means which has come there with the ekatanatvam. Ekatanatvam means continuous flow of appreciation of what is the artha, jiva brahma aikya, which has led to the, that means the dhyayika gochara that is there. And the dhyata, dhyana, these are not there, because if they are there, it is no more nirvikalpa samadhi. It is, at best it can be savikalpa depending on the intensity. For nirvikalpa samadhi, ekatanatvam dhyayika gochara means one appreciation of the Brahma, and its continuous appreciation is necessary. Appreciation cannot be without the vritti. Whereas you are talking of nirvikalpa samadhi as free from vrittis, or otherwise we can say, we don't find any vrittis in the samadhi. Then if vrittis are not there, how that dhyayika gochara is possible? How the continuous appreciation of the one Brahma is possible? Because for any appreciation, what is necessary is vritti. Or, a question can be, that is one question, or what is the difference between deep sleep state and nirvikalpa samadhi? What are the vikalpas in your deep sleep state? Deep sleep state? Have you got anyone in vikalpas and deep sleep state? It only means you are not sleeping, that's all. At all you sleep, so there is no vikalpas. What is the difference between deep sleep state and nirvikalpa samadhi? That is also the stanza can be used. So the answer is being given in the 56. Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate